In this episode of the Digital Trailblazer podcast, we're going to talk all about AI and how it has changed and evolved the SEO game and how to rank in Google and how to overcome the loss in traffic and how to adapt to changing times. So stay tuned.
If you want to build a legitimate, profitable online business without shiny objects, without the hypey gimmicks, and without the stress and overwhelm, if you want to make more money without having to be present online all day, every day, pumping out content that nobody sees and hustling DMs to generate leads and sales, then this is the place for you. Welcome to the Digital Trailblazer podcast, your online business university, where you'll learn how ordinary people start from ground zero with no influence, no email list or audience to sell to, and no business or marketing experience, and go from working 9-to-5 jobs to building successful 6- and 7-figure online businesses and all the steps in between. Learn the strategies that worked and what didn't. Learn the mistakes that they made and how to avoid them, and then learn their plans for scaling their businesses and taking things to the next level. All so that you can build your business faster and easier and make more money without sacrificing the things that are important to you in your life. I'm your host, Leah Ray Getz, and with me is my husband, Todd. Now, let's get to it with today's guest.
Welcome, everybody. My name is Todd Getz, your host of the Digital Trailblazer podcast. And with me today is Bruce Clay. Bruce, why don't you introduce yourself to our audience and let them know what you are all about?
All right. For those of you who haven't had a experience of talking to us before, I'm Bruce Clay. I've been doing SEO since 1996, which is 30 years. That makes me about the same age as dirt. I've been given credit for coining the term search engine optimization. If you do a Google search for who is the father of SEO, I show up. That's how long I've been doing this. I have offices around the world, Japan, Australia, Singapore, all over Europe, India. Pretty well known. I've spoken at 300 conference sessions. I've written 3 books. I'm pretty well connected with SEO. And for the last few years, we've been very connected to AI, especially as it connects to SEO. And I'm very excited to be able to talk about it today.
And SEO is always changing. Like there's always some new thing that people have figured out. And then once they figure it out, it maybe works for a little bit. And then the algorithm changes and now there's something new that they got to figure out. And I feel like AI is a pretty major thing. I think this is one of the things that has been a very big disruptor in this area, not just in SEO, but in all parts of marketing and in the internet. Early on, I remember, there's a bunch of keyword stuffing and that worked for a little while. And then algorithms updated and you couldn't just keyword stuff anymore and you had to do other things. And there's other ways that you could keyword stuff rather than just pumping your article full of the keyword you wanted to rank for. Now you had to put it in the alt images, you had to put it in the H2s and the H3s. And, there's a bunch of different things. And then you had to hit the right percentages for everything. You couldn't overstuff, you couldn't understuff. There's all this stuff. And now we have AI. And we've had guests come on the show that even within the recent months, and it feels like everyone's still figuring this out. And most recently I had somebody who kind of thought he knew what was going on as far as how to get mentioned in AI and how to kind of overcome the loss of traffic. But I feel if there's someone that knows what's going on right now, it's probably you. So give us a scoop. What is going on here? How can we still profitably build a business, get websites to rank, or even overcome whatever's happening with SEO right now?
Okay. Well, first, I'm going to agree with you. For years, it has sort of been every Monday, it's a new industry. I mean, SEO is going to die eventually, but my opinion is SEO is dead when Google stops changing things and all your competition has died. That isn't going to happen anytime soon. So SEO is around. To get ranked in AI, and a lot of people consider them somewhat separate, it turns out that AI depends upon the search engine to do logical filtering in front of it. The search engine has 25 years of getting rid of spam. The search engine has the ability to determine whether the site is trusted or not, to determine whether or not it's an authority site. Is it expert? Or is it questionable? And the search engine does that inherently. So since AI is so new, it does not go out and try to figure all that out. It just asks the search engine. So to start with, the foundation to get into AI is to be on the first page of the search engine. As a result, you are correct. As a result, turns out that AI, while everybody has it as the bright, shiny object that they're all watching, you cannot get there unless you can also rank. Google AI overviews obviously uses Google. Chat is using Bing and Google. Others are trying to figure out their own. As far as I can tell, if you want to be in chat, you have to be in Google. You have to be near the top to show up in AIO, for instance. Now, to come back to the other comment you made, there is certainly a way to get into that ranking in AIO. And the Google AIO is like 10 times bigger than anything else, easily, maybe more. And you can get there. We have to kind of recall, though, this is going to be a major shift. You see, for years, people have built websites just giving the information. Whatever the answer is, they just give you the answer. However, the shift that we're seeing with AI is that people ask questions. And virtually none of the websites out there answer questions. They kind of give you the answer, but they don't pose it as an answer to a question. They just tell you what they do, right? And for years, my philosophy on my website was answer questions until they surrender. And somewhat of a different sales rule because people hire the best. And what we're running into now is those kind of websites, while they may still rank, are not the bright, shiny object for AI. What AI wants is a question and answer. And what we have found is that there is a method to that madness, and we're able to get you ranked, but it means that your website has to transform itself into this beautiful winged object. And it has to answer questions, and it has to be question centric, and it has to establish itself as the expert. And we have figured out how to do that. And then it's just, to some degree, almost a matter of time until this AI catches up. Right now, we're at about 16% of all queries or questions. That's going to really grow. And I think at that point, we're going to find that there is a way to dominate in search. And I not only believe it, I put money behind it. I took my entire website, which at the time was 5,000 pages, and I pruned off a bunch of the older stuff, and I consolidated, and I did a lot of work. But part of the work was I added a question, an FAQ, detailed, like 5 paragraphs describing the FAQ and 20 steps about how to do it. And I put that at the bottom of every page. So I have now 3,000 pages that answer questions, and I'm showing up regularly in AIO.
So you're writing how-to articles, and then at the end of the how-to articles, you're posting a bunch of FAQs about the how-to article.
One FAQ, but detailed. I come up with one primary question derived from the article. I simply ask AI what the question is for that article, and it tells me. And then I write the FAQ to go with it, which is the answer to that question, and it ranks. As an example, you can go to any of my blog posts, just go to my blog, go to my first entry, go down to the FAQ, highlight the question and search on it. It shows up as the #1 entry for AIO. And you can go to the second one, it'll do it again, and go to the third one, it'll do it again. I pretty much have, for the questions, I would say almost, not quite, but almost ownership in AIO.
Interesting. And it's just one question. So it's just the most frequently asked question, the one, and you're just answering that at the end of the article.
Yeah, and it's like 5 paragraphs and 20 items on how to do it. And it's getting eaten alive by AIO.
Wow. Have you tested answering more than one question, or are you finding one is all you need?
One is all I need.
Interesting.
And it's kicking butt.
Okay. So now, as far as writing your article, because a lot of our audience, they are coaches, course creators, agency owners. I mean, they're people who are in the education space. So they are writing a lot of this how-to content. So what we're saying is that in order to increase your chances of getting mentioned by AI, we don't want to stop at just what you do. We want to talk about what is the actual answer. What are we actually going to do to solve the problem and how to do that?
Correct.
Okay. Now, I know a lot of coaches and course creators are probably going to hear that and think, well, if I give away all the answers, then why would they hire me? What would you say to people? Because I know what I would say to them, but what would you say to people who probably have that concern?
There's really the two ends. If it is that easily answered by AI, people are going to use AI and answer it. I mean, you can't change that part. But what you want to be able to do is to express yourself at a level of being an expert. I mean, if I were to want to do plumbing at my house, I would call a plumber, right? All you had to do is try it once and know it didn't work. Right. I mean, so I think people would equate the fact that you know the answer to you know how to use the answer, that you know the variable factors that go into it. You know, it's like an apprentice versus a master. I mean, they're entirely different. And I think the person reading an article would be able to say, okay, I got 24 steps. I could do it. I might even be backed up by a YouTube video, and I may have all sorts of capabilities to see it and understand it. But do I really want to take the risk? And when you're talking about traffic to your site, you know, one person a month may be a lot of money by the time you're done. And I would think that using a professional that knows what they're doing would be the right way to do it. If you have people who typically write their own content, we have PreWriter, which is a pre-writer research tool. It does all the research for you. So you can give it a topic and it'll research it and give it to the writer so the writer can write the article. Part of it is it actually builds those FAQs for you, but it's PreWriter. We rely on writers to finish everything. They're the artists. AI will never have the experience with your company. They'll never have the experience in your class. They'll never have the experience in your consulting business. It will not be there. It knows how to string words together and is very good at that, but it is not going to displace a consultant. So if the consultant business, to answer your question, if the consultant business is viable in the first place, where people would need a consultant, by you giving them proof that you're an expert and know what you're talking about, I think actually helps you.
Yeah, and I would 100% agree. Whether you're doing coaching, you've got an agency, you are a consultant, you've got an online course that you created, the reason people are going to invest their money in you is not because they're missing some knowledge. I mean, you look up how to lose weight, you're going to come up with billions of search results on Google, YouTube. I mean, there's all sorts of information that you can get on how to lose weight. But still, there's people who are investing thousands of dollars in a weight loss coach in order to help them to lose weight because they want to do it faster, they want to do it cheaper, they want to do it more efficiently. Yeah, faster, cheaper, better. They do it because it's more efficient in some way. So, and they want to skip the trial and error. So if you can't help people do that with whatever you've created, then you're right. I mean, AI is going to put you out of business. so you need to be able to do that. With the articles that you're writing, one thing that just popped into my head is, would it be a smart idea, for example, if I asked AI a question and I looked at the way that it constructed the answer, would it be smart for me to write my article with the same structure in order to help myself to get mentioned in AI?
No. Let's understand how AI kind of does what it does. When you say, here's a keyword, give me a 1,200 word article about the keyword. What it spends its time doing is figuring out how to string words consecutively, because it didn't start with an article. It had to create the article. So have you ever written something, put it down, picked it up a couple hours later and said, who wrote this? All the time, right? And that's sort of what that first version is like. And there's something where you can do recursive. It logically allows AI to self-improve itself. And for instance, as part of PreWriter.ai, we have a routine that actually build a draft. There's 152 different chat commands in there, 152. It would take you all day to do it by hand. And it's everything, including we have 130 tests. And so what we do is we can create a document, then we can run the test against the document and tell AI to self-correct, to self-improve. And it will. And it will. I changed this to that. And it's like, of course. But when it did the first version, it didn't do it. It just put the words together. So it's like every time you get something from AI as an article, you have to be somewhat skeptical. You have to say, this is the draft. This is the preliminary. And you got to do things to it to make it work. The other part of the problem, just to give an example, is that people don't know how to even really ask the right question, or they just ask a question. For instance, if I say, same example, give me a keyword, I want 1,200 words. Most of the time, that's what people do. Here's a keyword, give me 1,200 words. What we do is we say, give me the keyword. Now, what persona would ever type that in as a query? Based upon that persona, what are their pain points? Why are they typing in that word? What is the solution to that persona? Add that as additional keywords. Now write me an article. And when you do it that way, it totally changes the article from just being factual to addressing a pain that your visitor would have, right? But nobody knows to type that in. Nobody's typing in, give me the persona that goes with this keyword. They're saying, give me the article. And so then it falls on the writer to wordsmith in their target personas, or you can build it in, but you have to know to do it. That's why the tool is so good. It builds in remarkable things. For instance, I'm going to ask you this. When was the last time you used the word subliminal?
I can't even remember. It's been a while. I've used it, but I don't know.
Well, you can go to chat and say subliminally improve this article to cause an increase in click-through rate on my call to action. And it will actually subliminally update your document. And the first time I said, well, this has to work. I don't know why I decided to try it, but this has to work. So I ran it and I got the article. And then I said, make it subliminal. And when I read the article, I almost couldn't tell the difference. So then I said, explain all the changes made for subliminal. And it gave me like 30 changes that were dead on. I mean, amazing. Subliminal messaging was integrated. I used this word instead of that word because it's a better call to action. I use this word instead of that word as a better implication of you as an expert. It's all built in. You just have to have 152 steps to do it. You see, part of it is getting your content to rank. And part of it is getting the audience to do what you want them to do. And there are ways that you can improve and make your content more likely to get them to click through on the call to action. Let me give another subtle difference. And I don't know if anybody else is doing it, so I think I'm the only one that agrees with myself. I felt that CTAs, call to action, is starting to be treated like an ad, that people are learning to jump over it, to ignore them, right? So what I did was I said, take this article. Oh, by the way, this was triggered by Google I/O, where they said the searcher is going to be personalized going forward in AI. They're going to look at your Gmail, that searcher's Gmail, that searcher's YouTube experience. They're going to try to tie all this data together when it gives the AI answer. Well, I'm creating a website. I'm not going to write a million different versions of my page. However, if you approach it from a marketing point of view correctly, you're going to say, wait, there's only 8 different personas that might go after that page. So I made it 12. I create the 12 personas. I get their pain points. I decide that I want to put a call to action for each of those pain points interspersed into the article in an appropriate section. So they're going to be added to the article. And then I said, I don't want it to be a CTA in the normal sense because people just skip over it. So make it a how-to question, how to solve your pain, whatever that pain is. So I got 12 pain points. All of them worded as a question, and each of them goes to one of my FAQ pages that answers the question. Now I just proved I'm the expert. Yeah, you've got a bunch of additional pages, but that page is nailed. You've got call to action questions interspersed appropriately through that top to bottom. And it's a powerful thing. I don't know of anybody else that's even talking about that. But that is something that I think is really powerful.
What I've heard AI being described as it currently stands, is like a very sophisticated autocomplete. Like I said, it's just kind of predicting the next word that's most likely to be the accurate word that you want. Now I'm hearing rumblings of Grok 4. As of the time of this recording, Grok 4 is coming out, and there's a lot of people that are saying this is AGI now. Are you familiar with that at all? Do you know anything about that, or how that's going to change things, or is this just more of the same?
More of the same. There's alphabet soup right now. There's another one of our methodologies. It's a framework is actually what it is. When you look at a search result page, one of the problems we face right now is that AI is getting a lot of impressions. They're talking about your site, but you don't really get to see that they're talking about your site very well, right? So impressions are going up, but because this AI stuff is at the top of the page and organic and pay-per-click and everything else is pushed down, your traffic is dropping. They refer to that as sort of like the crocodile effect, right? Impressions going up, traffic going down. And I view it a little differently. I view it as, well, if organic is going down, something is above it. There's 40 some features that are possibly going to be placed above it. For any one query, there's probably 8 of them in play. Depends upon the intent of the query. So my philosophy is, why don't I rank there? If it's going to appear at the top of the page, I should focus on that, right? I believe that if anybody goes out and does the anywhere engine optimization and stuff like that, and they're going to be in social or they're going to be in different engines, that ultimately people are going to come back through the gatekeeper, which is Google. And they're going to do some sort of either branded or product specific query. And whatever shows up at the top of the page, I want to rank there. So that's called SERP Visibility Framework. And we've implemented a lot of our monitoring. I mean, strange things. I can tell you that you are in the people also ask located 418 pixels from the top of the page, or you're not in the people also ask. And we can figure out how to get there. And it turns out that you can get into almost anything on the Google page with SEO if you do it right. They look at different things, but you can get there if you do it right. And but I think that if I were to say, one particular thing that you got to watch out for, 99% of the websites out there are 5 years old technology. You may have done it 2 years ago, but it was probably designed to the same platform expectations. And it's not loaded with questions, and it's not designed for AI to love you. And I think we're going to go into an era of almost shock, because there's 1 billion companies that have websites that are now antiquated. And it's going to be difficult for the entire industry to catch up. In the very beginning, SEO was exciting because it was sort of Wild West and everybody was doing everything, right? Trying to get ranked and doing and experimenting. There were a lot of experimentation going on. Now, all of a sudden, here comes AI, and it's the same thing all over again. I'm loving it. And people who can get good at it, they are seriously ahead of the game, because it is a difficult thing to be good at everything. But if you're good at AI and good at SEO and you know how they play together, you own it. But there's so many people that are, hey, all I did for SEO was buy links. Those poor people are out of business. They're not going to last a year. It's the people that understand how it works and how it plays together. We believe there's really sort of 3 components. There's the SEO component, the content component, and the training component. And that if you want to master AI, you really kind of have to do all 3. Your whole team has to be on the same page. They can't be, I'm over here on schema and you're over there on links and we don't share any knowledge. I mean, you have to get everybody on the same page. You have to have content that is designed to show up in AI. And you actually have to have SEO because that is a prerequisite to even have a hope to be in AI. So those are the three things I think are mostly integrated. And you have to focus on the framework, the overall. I don't care where you're on the SERP, I want to rank there. Every time you look at anything on that search result page, I want to rank there. You want to, have people attend your class, make sure you rank for training and rank for this and rank for that and show up in AI. And it turns out SEO is even more important than it ever was.
What you said about all these websites that are out, 99% of websites are on 5-year-old or older technology. I feel like that's almost good news for the new guy coming in that's starting brand new. It's like you got a leg up there. And especially for someone who's small right now, maybe you've been around for a while, but it's so much easier for you to pivot when you don't have a huge organization and a website with hundreds of articles on it. Because right now, like our website has hundreds of pages that I would have to, like I'm thinking about all the work that we got to do to update everything. I mean, we started it, over 5 years ago. And at the time, it was probably old technology then too. So yeah. And then I'm also thinking about SEO and the power of SEO. I recently took over, I do judo. And the dojo that I go to, it was a failing business. The sensei was kind of losing money every month on his dojo. It was a hobby. I mean, he does it because he loves it. So I took over the website and literally all I did is I just fixed up the Google profile. I used AI to help me with the articles on the website. I looked at what was showing up on People Also Ask. I just created articles about that stuff. And now we're ranking for our top keywords in the top 3 search results for most of them. And I think it was within the last 3 to 6 months. It only took us 3 to 6 months and the size of the classes have tripled. And it's just amazing what SEO can do. I know marketing, but this is all brand new to me. And I have a very fundamental knowledge of AI and all this stuff. And I'm just really excited for where this is going in the future. Now, when you mention the other things that are pushing the organic stuff down, what are those things that we want to look to rank for? And what are some tips you can give us to number one, figure out what those are, but then how to actually rank for those?
So we did an analysis. There's tools out there that can help you too. Ahrefs has a very nice list of all of the components that are there. You don't want to use an exhaustive list because it's like the page numbers. That's a feature on the page, but it's not anything you're going to optimize for, right? I mean, that doesn't do any good. But it varies by industry and it varies by intent. Intent is the biggest determination as to what's going to show up. If the intent is informational, you're going to get a lot of people also ask and the suggestions around information. Whereas if it is transactional, you're going to get an entirely different set of things. And then even there, based upon time of day and location, you'll get a different set of things. For instance, during the day, you may get a local pack, but when everybody's closed, you may not get a local pack. Our experiments have shown that I have, for my own site, I have 542 keywords. I just want to see how the whole industry is changing, right? I want to see any movement. And when I run it, there is no core set of things that are always there. It really varies based upon, is it transactional, informational, navigational? Does it end time of day? And even the city you're in will change it. So is there a core set? I would say People Also Ask are pretty consistent. And that is very much like search, but it is very much supportive of AI Q&As, questions, answers. I think that the helpful content updates that Google has done, each one has leaned closer and closer to question-based is usable. Usability kind of implies that you have to do other things. So we can take any website. Does the website have breadcrumbs? Does the website have jump links at the top of the page to jump into sections? Does the website have a privacy statement? Does the website have how to find you, contact in the footer? Well, those are not your core SEO factors. Those are more design factors, but they're all usability factors. And that impacts the search engines. And then that in turn impacts whether you show up in AI. So I would say that we have to look at the entire search result page. We also have to look at the entire web page structure and make sure you have jump links and breadcrumbs and privacy statement in the footer, and you have to be usable. So the average person, we'll say yourself, you can do an awful lot. As you pointed out, you can do an awful lot when everybody else is asleep at the wheel. That is where we are right now. And I'd say virtually everybody has an opportunity as a first mover. That is sort of where we are. It's like early SEO. We started doing SEO and you almost couldn't do it wrong, but everybody else was doing nothing, right? And AI is somewhat like that. It's just moving faster than SEO was because there's already a large population of people that care about that ranking, right? And if it were my site, I would go through the sites and do an audit as to, does this actually answer a question? Or better yet, for this page, is there a question, right? Is it confusing? You see, if you can't go to a page and you can go to chat and say, for this page, what are the 3 top questions? And if the questions conflict with each other, that's a problem, right? And there's so much you can use chat for right now, but a real SEO effort should go into every project, I think, right now, because it's a first mover advantage.
So with all this AI stuff, is there a tool that you prefer to use to do all this with? Because I know I use, for example, when I'm writing articles for a website, it's usually Claude AI that I'm using. I know other people like to use ChatGPT. There's also Gemini and Gemini I'll use for images sometimes. It usually takes several queries to get that right, or several prompts to get that right. What AI tools are you using to help out with all this?
We're using Bedrock. Bedrock is a Amazon stealth product. They invited us to participate, so I read it and I did. What it does is there's a single interface and it talks to all the LLMs for you, right? Because we program our tools. They're very powerful. And so we're putting it in that we will talk to Bedrock, and Bedrock, I can say, okay, Bedrock, here's my input, go to Claude. Here's my input, go to that. Oh, and I can say, here's my input, and I can do my own queries. I can go to Google and query myself. I don't even have to let them do that. I can get some very high performance out of it. And that's our approach. Now, which one is right? The general feeling right now is that Claude is better than all the rest, but I believe that what we're going to find is that certain of them will be good for transactional versus informational, or some of them will have a deeper knowledge ability in some areas. But Claude seems to be a favorite out there.
Now, I know that SEO, when I first jumped into SEO, that was probably the steepest learning curve of anything I'd ever jumped into. And then even jumping into it again, taking over my dojo's website, there was a lot of learning to do there as well. And now in AI, it's like I'm jumping in deeper and deeper waters every time we got to get involved with this. Do you have any resources or anything at all that can help people out to learn this? Because I mean, there's got to be just an easy starting point for people. I'm sure you've got something that can help them out to get them started on this journey.
Yes, I have a domain called seotraining.com, and I do have an online course there which fully covers your SEO. If you are able, every quarter I teach a class on SEO, but it's got a lot of AI built into it. So I do that. It's a 3-day course once a quarter, and open seating. Just register at seotraining.com and you can take the course, and it's really, really good. And then if necessary, we can back you up with limited consulting. We do consulting as a core business, so we can back up anybody with any need. But training, I think, is as I said earlier, it's one of my 3 core things. There's content, there's SEO, and there's training from the SEO point of view. If you want to get into AI, you're going to probably want to do that. And if you have a team, as I mentioned earlier, some are over on schema and some are over buying links. You really need to get them on the same page. So that is very useful.
Great. Yeah. I know the big leaps in our business always happened when we jumped on something before other people. Like, yeah, you can jump on something late and do well on it and you're going to grow. But whenever we had those huge leaps in something, it was always when we jumped on something that we identified as a trend and we were a first adopter. And so I think this is something that if you're really serious about building a business, using SEO, leveraging AI, absolutely check out those links. We will have those in the show notes, so be sure to check that out. Bruce, this has been an amazing conversation. Thank you so much. If people want to connect with you online, learn more about you and what you do, where can they find you?
Well, they can find myself on LinkedIn most of the time. There is clearly our corporate accounts on LinkedIn and Facebook, etc. We're around. One of the things I'd encourage people to do, as long as it's reasonable, they can go to PreWriter.ai, and without a credit card, you can sign up. We give you 20 tokens to play with the tools for free. You just go, you get 20 tokens. The tokens are typically right around $2 each. So we're going to give you 20 tokens free. No harm, no foul. We don't harass you. And play with it. And if it's something that works for you, then I think we're going to be happy and you'll be useful with it. It's really a pretty good solution. So PreWriter.ai, SEOtraining.com, you can find me through that, or SEOtools.com, but BruceClay.com is the easiest way to find me.
Awesome. Well, we will have the links for all of that in the show notes. Everybody, I encourage you to check those out. Bruce, thank you so much. We really appreciate having you on the podcast today.
Okay, thank you.
You've been listening to the Digital Trailblazer podcast. For show notes and information about today's guest, head to digitaltrailblazer.com. Now, if you love this episode, if you got some value, make sure you leave us a review and subscribe. And be sure to share this episode with anyone you know who could use help to build their business. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.